हाय एवरीवन, वेलकम टू द चैनल। वी आर कंटिन्यूइंग द लेक्चर 3। अब हम तीसरे लेक्चर की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं अपने, और तीसरे लेक्चर में हमें देखना है कि जुरिस्डिक्शंस के ऊपर सवाल आते हैं। ठीक है। अब सबसे पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जुरिस्डिक्शन की बात करें तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास हमने लार्जली पढ़ा है कि तीन तरह का जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है। एक उसका ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है, दूसरा उसका एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है। ठीक है, उसका एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है, और यहाँ पे एपेलेट गलती से लिखा हुआ है, उसका एडवाइजरी जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है। ठीक है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का तीन जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है जो आपने बेसिकली पढ़ा है। तो इनके आर्टिकल्स को भी याद कर लेना है कि आर्टिकल 131 में ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन दिया हुआ है। ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन क्या होता है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट है, बाप है सबका। किसका बाप है? स्टेट्स का। तो दो स्टेट्स के बीच में अगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है तो कौन रिजॉल्व करेगा? सुप्रीम कोर्ट रिजॉल्व करेगा। अब स्टेट्स का मतलब क्या है? क्या दो देशों की पॉलिटिकल गवर्नमेंट जो है, लेजिस्लेचर में एक स्टेट में कांग्रेस है, दूसरी स्टेट में बीजेपी है, तो क्या कांग्रेस और बीजेपी के कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स को सुप्रीम कोर्ट अपने ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन रिजॉल्व करेगा? क्या सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन लगाता है तो क्या वो आर्बिट्रेटर की भूमिका में होता है? क्या वो आर्बिट्रेशन करा रहा होता है? जी नहीं। सुप्रीम कोर्ट सिर्फ ऐसे मैटर्स में इंटरफेयर करेगा जो गवर्नमेंट के ऑर्गन से रिलेटेड होंगे, जो गवर्नेंस से रिलेटेड होंगे। जो किससे रिलेटेड होंगे? गवर्नर्स से। फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर इनके बीच में दो स्टेट्स के बीच में पानी के शेयरिंग, नदी के पानी के शेयरिंग को लेके कुछ इशू होता है। फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर एयर पोल्यूशन, एक कंट्री का एग्रीकल्चर दूसरे कंट्री में एयर पोल्यूशन का कारण बन रहा है, तो होगा। अगर इनके बीच में इंटरस्टेट गुड्स ट्रांसफ़र की बात है, इंटरस्टेट गुड्स ट्रांसफ़र की बात है, और उससे आने वाले टैक्स की बात है, तो वो क्या करेगा? सुप्रीम कोर्ट रिजॉल्व करेगा। समझ में आया? तो इनके गवर्नेंस और गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गन्स से रिलेटेड जो भी चीज़ें होंगी स्टेट्स के बीच में, वो रिजॉल्व होंगी। और अगर यूनियन गवर्नमेंट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट जाती है तो भी वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन के अंदर आएगा। तो आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछ सकता है एक सिचुएशन दे के कि अंडर विच अमंग द फॉलोइंग जुरिस्डिक्शन दिस पर्टिकुलर इशू शैल बी एंटरटेन्ड। तो अगर कहीं पे भी आपको कोई स्टेट दिखाई दे, या यूनियन वर्सेस स्टेट दिखाई दे, या स्टेट वर्सेस स्टेट दिखाई दे, तो आप क्या मान के चलेंगे? तो आप मान के चलेंगे कि ये ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन है। अब बात करते हैं हम उसके बाद एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन की। एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन में हमें यूजुअली ये पता होता है कि हाई कोर्ट के एडवाइस, कि हाई कोर्ट की जो ऑर्डर्स हैं, सॉरी, हाई कोर्ट के ऑर्डर्स के अगेंस्ट जजमेंट होता है। ठीक है। ये अपने को क्या पता होता है कि हाई कोर्ट के ऑर्डर्स के अगेंस्ट होता है। तो अगर हाई कोर्ट ने कोई ऑर्डर दिया है तो हम क्या करते हैं? उसको अपील करते हैं। अपील कहाँ करते हैं? सुप्रीम कोर्ट का। लेकिन अगर ऑर्डर, ये सिलसिला अगर हम हमेशा रखें कि हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अपील जाएगा, तो कितनी हाई कोर्ट हो गई? 24 हाई कोर्ट्स। एक हाई कोर्ट ऑन एन एवरेज पर डे कितना देती है? 20 केसेस डिलीवर करती है, मान लें अगर। तो 20 को ज़रा आप मल्टीप्लाई कर दीजिए 24 से, तो ये 480 केसेस हो जाते हैं। 480 केसेस सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अगर हर दिन अपील किए जाएं, मल्टीप्लाई कर दीजिए इसको 365 से, प्लस सुप्रीम कोर्ट पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट लिटिगेशन भी लेता है, प्लस सुप्रीम कोर्ट स्पेशल लीव पिटीशन भी लेता है, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट तो ओवरबर्डनड हो जाएगा। क्या हो जाएगा? ओवरबर्डनड हो जाएगा। और अगर हाई कोर्ट का हर ऑर्डर सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अपीलेबल हो जाएगा तो हाई कोर्ट का क्या मतलब हुआ? फिर हाई कोर्ट को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कोर्ट बनाने का क्या मतलब हुआ? तो हाई कोर्ट इज़ नॉट सबॉर्डिनेट टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट। हमेशा ये चीज़ हमेशा अपने दिमाग में रखिएगा कि हाई कोर्ट किसी भी तरीके से सबॉर्डिनेट नहीं है सुप्रीम कोर्ट से, पर हाई कोर्ट इक्विवेलेंट भी नहीं है। लेकिन हम ये कभी नहीं कहते कि हाई कोर्ट सबॉर्डिनेट है। इसका बहुत बड़ा एविडेंस ये होता है कि हाई कोर्ट का जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर होता है, जो चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट होता है ना, वो इक्वली होता है सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जज के बराबर। उसका सैलरी, उसका एलिजिबिलिटी, उसका नॉलेज, उसका एक्सपीरियंस, जो चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट होता है वही सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जज की तरह बाद में बनता है जाके। तो उसके अंदर इतनी कॉम्पिटेंसी होती है चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट के अंदर। तो चीफ जस्टिस का ऑफ हाई कोर्ट अगर किसी बेंच में बैठा है, लेट्स से हाई कोर्ट की 3 जजेस की बेंच है, और इसमें अगर एक चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट बैठा है, तो आप ये मान सकते हैं कि इसके पास इतना एक्सपीरियंस है कि ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जज बैठा हुआ है। तो आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि हाई कोर्ट इज़ ऑलवेज सबॉर्डिनेट, राइट? टू ऐड फाइनलिटी टू द ऑर्डर्स ऑफ द हाई कोर्ट, what the constitution has rather done is that it has restricted the powers of appeal, restricted the appellate jurisdiction, restricted the एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट। सुप्रीम कोर्ट के एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन को रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया है। कैसे रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट के एपेलेट जुरिस्डिक्शन को ऐसे रिस्ट्रिक्ट किया है कि आर्टिकल 132, 133, 134, 135 चार तरह की अपील्स के बारे में बात करते हैं, जहाँ पे मैटर्स डिवाइडेड हैं सिविल केस में और क्रिमिनल केस में। क्रिमिनल केस की अपील्स को फाइल करना सुप्रीम कोर्ट में बहुत मुश्किल होता है। सिविल केस की अपील फाइल हो जाती है अगर सब्सटैंशियल क्वेश्चन ऑफ लॉ है तो, अगर सब्सटैंशियल क्वेश्चन ऑफ लॉ है तो। इसका कोई रिसेंट एग्जांपल है हमारे पास? जी हाँ, बिल्कुल है। हम बात करें अगर पावर्स ऑफ एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट ऑफिसर्स की, अगर हम पावर ऑफ एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट ऑफिसर्स की, मान लीजिए ईडी के ऑफिसर्स आज वेस्ट बंगाल में जाके क्या करते हैं, अरेस्ट करते हैं, रेड करते हैं। वेस्ट बंगाल का कोई मिनिस्टर है जिसके खिलाफ केस रजिस्टर हुआ है पीएमएलए के अंडर, प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट 2002 के अंदर, और ईडी के ऑफिसर्स वेस्ट बंगाल में जाके अरेस्ट कर लेते हैं, रेड कर लेते हैं। वेस्ट बंगाल का मिनिस्टर कन्फेस कर लेता है, किससे? ईडी के सामने कन्फेस कर लेता है कि उसने ये ऑफेंस किया। तो वेस्ट बंगाल की जो गवर्नमेंट है वो जाती है हाई कोर्ट के सामने और केस लेके जाती है अगेंस्ट ईडी कि एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट एक सेंट्रल एजेंसी है जो कि अपनी पावर्स को वायलेट कर रही है, राइट। अब ईडी कैसी एजेंसी है? एक सेंट्रल एजेंसी है। हाई कोर्ट क्या करेगा? हाई कोर्ट बोलेगा कि ये इट इज़ द डिस्प्यूट बिटवीन वेस्ट बंगाल एंड एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट, सो इट विल बी अंडर ओरिजिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट। बट ओइंग टू द इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ पीएमएलए एक्ट, वो तो हाई कोर्ट भी कर सकता है कि हाई कोर्ट ये तो डिफाइन कर ही सकता है कि क्या ईडी ऑफिसर्स के पास पीएमएलए के अंदर ये पावर है कि वो स्टेटमेंट्स, कन्फेशंस रिकॉर्ड करवा के उसको कोर्ट में प्रूव कर दें। तो हाई कोर्ट ऑफ वेस्ट बंगाल ने कहा कि हाँ, ईडी के पास ये पावर है कि ईडी को दिए गए जो भी स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट को दिए गए स्टेटमेंट्स कैन बी यूज्ड अगेंस्ट द अक्यूज्ड। ये किसने कहा? ये वेस्ट बंगाल की हाई कोर्ट ने कहा। और वहीं यूपी की लेट से हाई कोर्ट में सिमिलर एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट का कोई मैटर है जहाँ पे यूपी ने कह रखा है, यूपी हाई कोर्ट ने कह रखा है कि नॉट एडमिसिबल या नहीं यूज़ कर सकते। मतलब यूपी कह रहा है कि एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट जो है वो सिमिलर टू पुलिस है, और वेस्ट बंगाल क्या कह रहा है? वेस्ट बंगाल कह रहा है कि ईडी जो है इज़ नॉट सिमिलर टू पुलिस, इज़ अ स्पेशल यूनिट। तो एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट और प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट के इंटरप्रिटेशन में क्वेश्चन आ गया कि नहीं आ गया? टू हाई कोर्ट्स आर showing differing opinion. And in that case, what happens is that the West Bengal High Court as well as the UP High Court may issue a certificate of appeal and state that this particular matter, due to differing opinions of respective high courts, this matter has to be decided by the Supreme Court. So every such matter, right, where a certificate of appeal is issued, by the High Court, such matters only can be appealed before the Supreme Court. But what happens if certificate of appeal is not issued and High Court is very reluctant? High Court is very reluctant to issue a certificate of appeal. High Court is saying that you cannot take the matter to appeal before the Supreme Court, but you believe that the High Court has done a graver injustice. Then the Constitution has also provided you one special remedy, that is special leave petition under Article 136. Look at the word special leave petition. What is the meaning of the word leave? Leave here means permission. So this is like a special permission petition. Special permission petition before whom? Before the Supreme Court. As a party, you file an SLP before the Supreme Court under Article 136 stating that some graver injustice is being done because of the way basic things are being ignored by lower court, or there is some question of law which is to be decided and interpreted finally by the Supreme Court. Whether it is a substantial question of law or not, it is up to the Supreme Court to admit it and then decide upon it. But as a citizen aggrieved by the order of the High Court, or for that matter any lower court, you believe that some graver injustice is being done, एंड देयर इज सम सब्सटैंशियल क्वेश्चन ऑफ लॉ, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में आप याचिका डाल सकते हैं। स्पेशल लीव पिटीशन कहते हैं इसको हम। सुप्रीम कोर्ट एसएलपी को बहुत रेयर केस में एडमिट करता है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कन्विंस भी हमें ज़्यादा करना पड़ता है, बिकॉज ये एक स्पेशल रेमेडी है, यूजुअल रेमेडी नहीं है। आप हर बार स्पेशल लीव पिटीशन के अंदर नहीं आ सकते। स्पेशल लीव पिटीशन क्या है, एक रेयर रेमेडी है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब स्पेशल लीव पिटीशन को इन्वोक करता है, यूज़ करता है, तो रेयर केस में यूज़ करेगा, क्योंकि एक स्पेशल रेमेडी है, नाम में ही छुपा है स्पेशल। ठीक, अब इसके एडवाइजरी जुरिस्डिक्शन में क्या है? एडवाइजरी जुरिस्डिक्शन में यह है, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का नेतृत्व करना रहता है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की शब्दों की जो मतलब है, जो डेफिनेशन है, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जज दे सकता है। इसीलिए आर्टिकल 143 के अंदर प्रेसिडेंट जो है वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया से परमिशन ले सकता है। इट इज़ अप टू द सुप्रीम कोर्ट टू प्रोवाइड द रेफरेंस, provide the suggestion to the president or not. But whatever interpretation the Supreme Court is giving to the president is full and final. Supreme Court cannot raise a question on the explanation given by the President cannot raise the question on the explanation given by the Supreme Court. So it is up to the president to follow the advice or not to follow the advice. All right. So let us suppose that India today occupies a certain piece of territory, and there is no provision in the constitution based on which India can do so. Then under what provision of the constitution such a military action would be justified? The president might take the advice of the Chief Justice of India. Are you getting me? So these are the presidential, these are called as presidential reference. Now, very simple question, because we are focusing on CUET. So CUET will give you a very specific question. The presidential reference, as often seen in the news or often seen in legal studies, is associated with which power of the Supreme Court? Now, the moment you hear the word presidential reference, you will mark it that it is which jurisdiction? Advisory jurisdiction, right? The CUET will give you a question on this, that what is the name of the petition that is there if graver injustice is done? Now, please don't mark writ jurisdiction. Please don't mark writ jurisdiction, because we have to come to writ jurisdiction as well. Now, graver injustice and violation of fundamental rights. If there are two separate articles talking about some injustice, some violation, then there is obviously a difference between the two. You cannot say that violation of a fundamental right is a graver injustice of law. Graver injustice of law can be done by any state machinery. Let us say police is not conducting the investigation. Let us say you believe that judge is personally biased. Then you will invoke which remedy? Article 32 or special leave. In that case, where you say that the High Court judge was biased, you will use Article 136. Let us say that High Court was required to record a statement under some statutory provision, but a High Court refuses to do that. High Court says no, such a witness can't come. Then you will invoke this SLP, special leave petition, graver injustice. But Article 32 is a fundamental right itself, heart and soul of Indian Constitution as per B.R. Ambedkar. So if the state is violating your fundamental rights, then you will invoke Article 32. This is called as writs, because 5 writs can be issued. Do you know that this power of the Supreme Court is coming from the power of the king in Britain? To issue writs against the state was the power given to the head of the state. This power, writ jurisdiction, in India should have gone to the president, but it was bound to be misused by the president. That is why it was vested with the Supreme Court under Article 32. You can directly approach the Supreme Court if your fundamental rights are being violated. But please remember that they are not available against private individuals. So, if I come to your house and I lock you inside your house, right, then I have curtailed your liberty, fundamental right to life and liberty, but you cannot invoke Article 32 against me because I do not represent the state. What you can best do is you can file a criminal complaint for wrongful confinement. I will be punished under Indian Penal Code. So this is the difference that you need to understand, that what is the difference. Why do we say that articles fundamental rights are only available against the state? Because I need to be a representation of the state or associated in any form with the state. The color of my office should be the color of the state, which means I should be working under the state. Then only you can use Article 32 against me, right? So, this is what was the general explanation of the original appellate advisory jurisdiction, a very basic nominal introduction part. Now, we are going to do a little bit of reading part so that we sum it up efficiently. The Supreme Court of India primarily exercises the role of an adjudicator and interpreter. So it is also the adjudicator, which means the decisions of the Supreme Court are final, and it is also the interpreter, which respects to the confusion in definitions and everything. Right? It is its role as an adjudicator and interpreter can be understood through the original and appellate jurisdiction vested with the court. Now, as an adjudicator and as an interpreter, it is the original and the appellate jurisdiction. This is a question area. Move to the next part of it. Under Article 131, the Supreme Court is granted original jurisdiction. Right? We have discussed this area as well. But there are some disputes, right? The point is that the dispute between this one or more states, between union and the states, cannot be mere a political issue. For example, there is a wildlife sanctuary. There is a wildlife sanctuary. Now, this wildlife sanctuary, is protected under Wildlife Protection Act. Today, the state government uses its power to create a dam around this wildlife sanctuary or the river flowing around the wildlife sanctuary. Can the state government do so? Because it will come in direct conflict with the Wildlife Protection Act, authorities under Wildlife Protection Act. Now, this is the problem. Does the state government enjoy power under Wildlife Protection Act to do construction activity in Wildlife Protection Act or not? So, this is the basic question of law or fact, right? The very existence of such basic question of law or fact will change the nature of legal rights that you have. For that very same reason, Supreme Court will bring it under its original jurisdiction. So example is already given. The sharing of river and other natural resources between the two states can be directly brought to the Supreme Court under exercise of its original. High courts will hear the matter, but Karnataka High Court decision can't be followed by Tamil Nadu High Court or Maharashtra High Court, so they will refrain from it. Coming to the next part, writ jurisdiction. We have already discussed it. Under writ jurisdiction, the Supreme Court does not only have the power to issue writs, but also to issue certain necessary directions and orders. Right? What is the difference between issuing directions and orders and writs? So writs are direct remedies that will be given in your favor. But sometimes what can happen, the Supreme Court will not give you any remedy, but will direct the state to take a positive step or a right step or a legal step. Then it will do so under issuing directions, right? So, appellate power of the Supreme Court, the appellate jurisdiction can be invoked by a certificate. Appeal to the Supreme Court may be made against any judgment, decree or final order of a High Court in both civil and criminal cases. Now, what is the difference between a judgment, a decree and a final order? So, judgment is always a part of a decree. Decree is that order, decree is that judgment where rights of one party and liabilities of other are being determined. For example, there is this suit, there is this property which is contested for ownership between A and B, and A and B are owners. Now, what would be the decree? The decree would be the final order deciding as to how the property is to be divided or distributed between A and B. What are the rights of A against B, and what are the duties of A towards B? That would be the decree. So decree is the final judgment. But there are a lot of judgments that can be given in the property. For example, A is the valid party within the said property. The other relatives of A are not. This can be stated as an order, as a judgment, right? Also, please understand that judgment is what? Judgment is the reasoning given by the judge. It includes obiter dictum, stare decisis, and ratio decidendi. So, judgment is a wholesome document that comes into picture. Decree is that part where the rights and the liabilities of parties are decided, and it is the decree issued in civil cases that parties are concerned with. There can be a lot of orders also. Interim orders are there, final orders are there. But you cannot use the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for interim orders issued by the High Court. While deciding a particular matter, the High Court may issue a lot of orders. And orders are simple, one line, two line orders. High Court has given that order that the police should conduct a free and fair investigation for this matter. High Court has given the order to the Nagar Nigam to issue the valid sale, purchase, document, registration, papers. So High Court will give that order. So to decide the decree, High Court can issue a lot of orders, and if that order is a final one, you can go to the let's say High Court orders that you will not construct, B will not construct a single thing on A. Let us say the High Court orders that the tree which are rooted by which are sown by B in the property of A belongs to A now. This is one order with respect to what are the properties were there. The tree is considered to be a part of the land, okay? So this order can be challenged before the Supreme Court if the High Court issues a certificate of appeal. Now the nitty-gritties of the jurisdiction, this is not that simple as we are trying to understand. It's very complicated, and this is where the major chunk of the constitution study goes in your second year, third year, when you will be studying the constitution in law. But as of now, only understand that every order of High Court is not appealable before the Supreme Court. Go to the next part. Article 136 we are talking about, special leave petition. Now, apart from the appellate powers of this court, there is also special appeal powers over all courts and all tribunals under Article 136. So if they are aggrieved by the order of a district court, under SLP you can go to the Supreme Court. The court may grant a special leave petition and receive any judgment, decree, determination, sentence or order in any cause or matter passed by any court or tribunal within the territory. Right? Supreme Court can call the judgment, order and review it and provide the necessary remedy. Supreme Court under SLP can also ask you to go back to the same court and can direct the same court at the same time to conduct trial in an impartial manner. This is all done in the SLP. Now under advisory jurisdiction, I have told you that this is a presidential reference. Any fact of public importance can be referred to the President to the Supreme Court of India. It is not binding on the Supreme Court to answer questions raised in the reference. So in the last 60 years or so, not many references have been made. Supreme Court can also refuse to provide advisory opinion if it is satisfied that the questions are either socio-economic or political in nature, which means only those questions can be referred to the Supreme Court which are related to the understanding or definition or interpretation of the constitution, or it might be a legal matter. All right. Relaxation of locus standi of Supreme Court. Now what is the meaning of the word locus standi? Locus standi is a legal action, simply is a legal maxim which says, why do you come before me? What is your cause of action? Some certain right has to be violated, certain statutory obligation that somebody was compelled to do for you did not do. There is a certain omission, there is a certain, you can say, action which is affecting you. There is which has created a cause of action and you want a remedy. So you are going to the court. So under what violation you are coming to the court is called as the locus standi. Now when we have read from writ jurisdiction to original to appellate to advisory to SLP, we realize that there are certain boxes. If a case fits in one of those boxes, then only we can refer to the Supreme Court. This is called as a very stringent locus standi, very restrictive locus standi. Cause of action has to be very precise to go to the Supreme Court, but over a certain period of time, due to the changing socio-political dynamics of this country, the awareness of rights and the failure of the governments, the organs of the government, executive and legislative, a lot of chhed-chhad has been done with the constitution during emergency era as well. Supreme Court realized that it is not reasonable or prudential enough to leave the protection of the fundamental rights of an individual with the executive as well as the legislator. The Supreme Court gave itself a power where if a public interest is involved and any person is able to prove before the Supreme Court that a public interest is involved, The Supreme Court will start taking the matter, hearing the matter, and will issue certain orders and give certain remedies because the issue is of public importance. For example, let us say that there is this case that is filed before the Supreme Court with respect to the timings of schools in New Delhi in the winter season. Now, education is under the state list, and it is the duty of the state legislature, that is the Delhi Legislative Assembly, or it is the duty of the lieutenant governor who is ruling the Delhi via union government to issue orders to respective school authorities, to respective district magistrate, so that he can look into the timing of the school. But let us say that it is the winter time and a lot of smog is there, temperatures are dropping to 0 degrees Celsius, and the schools are not closing by. The schools are not closing by. And there is one advocate who is very much public spirited, and he sees this situation or inaction, inability of the Delhi government, that they are not changing the school timings. Then the interest of these children comes into picture, and this interest is a severe one. It can affect the right to life of a child. It can affect it, because right to life can be affected. It can also affect the right to education. Right to education also under Article 21A. Then what will happen? This public spirited petition will draft a plaint, will draft an application, and will submit the application before the Supreme Court of India, proving that there is a larger public interest involved. Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India, will look at that matter, will try to question whether public interest is actually there or not, and if it is proved before the court in that day hearing that it is a public interest, then Supreme Court can take up that matter, which is called as public interest litigation. It is a unique innovation of the Indian Supreme Court, unparalleled, unseen across any other jurisdiction, any other country, and Supreme Court has itself given this power. Thus, public interest litigation, the concept of PIL is neither backed by any law, is neither backed by constitution. But yes, when it comes to protection of your fundamental rights, interpretation of the Supreme Court enjoys a certain degree of greater power in comparison to other organs of the government, and that is why Justice P.N. Bhagwati, Justice P.N. Bhagwati started this. It is covered under judicial activism. PIL is a part of judicial activism. This can be a valid question, so always remember that PIL is a part of judicial activism. Now I understand that you might be confused with respect to judicial review, judicial activism, and judicial overreach. I'll try to explain these three terms in very simple format. Judicial activism, where the executive and the legislative machinery are not able to protect the interests of the citizens, it is the incumbent duty upon the Supreme Court of India to take up that matter and provide adequate remedy. That is called as judicial activism. Judicial review. Now, judicial review again is a very unique power because Supreme Court, as per the Constitution, is the final interpreter and arbiter of the Constitution of India. It is up to the Supreme Court to ensure that the legislative assemblies of states as well as the parliament are making laws within the contours or within the limits of the Constitution of India. Okay? Now, when Supreme Court invokes this power to look into the constitutionality of parliament law or state law, such a review of the lawmaking is called as judicial review. Supreme Court, while invoking judicial review, will not try to create a law, but will only try to undo the fallouts, or you can say undo the negativities which are against constitution. Are you getting me? So when the Supreme Court looks into the law made by the parliament or the state legislator, it is called as judicial review. When the Supreme Court accepts an application or a petition because a larger public interest is involved, it is called as PIL. Both judicial review and both judicial activism, both PIL, can be a part of judicial activism because judiciary is showing activity. But the thin line of difference is that under PIL, we cannot challenge a state law or a central law, and under judicial review, we cannot file a PIL. So that is the kind of difference between these two terms. When it comes to judicial overreach, let us say that lawmaking role belongs to the legislative assembly. Supreme Court frames a law. Let us say Supreme Court frames. For example, what did we see when it came to the appointment of election commissioners and chief election commissioners? The Supreme Court gave an order that 3 persons should be there for the selection of election commission: leader of opposition, prime minister, and a cabinet and chief justice of India. But Supreme Court in that order also mentioned until the parliament makes a law, this order shall be there, because Supreme Court cannot make the law. If Supreme Court had stated that always it is going to be Chief Justice of India, Prime Minister and leader of opposition, then this law making, which is not the power of the Supreme Court as per the constitution, will be called as overreach. You are trying to act beyond your powers or beyond your jurisdiction, overreaching, isn't it? So these are the fundamental things. So relaxation of locus standi means that even if I am not the aggrieved person, the society, the people in the society are, I have the power to write an application to the Supreme Court highlighting the issue, and it is up to the Supreme Court to accept the matter. This is called as relaxation of locus standi. Why locus standi is relaxed? Because I am not aggrieved. I can see others are aggrieved. I am a public spirited citizen. I think I have done law, so I have the power that I can write an application. You know that a law student also can write an application to the CJI for any acceptance, and that will be admitted as a PIL. This is something that you should know. So Supreme Court has relaxed in recent years the meaning, right? The party to appear and to be heard, and this is called as Janhit Yachika (PIL). This is the part of extraordinary jurisdiction because it is not there in articles. Okay. Now this invoked because you already have writ jurisdiction, and you can also write letters to the judge, whose modalities are maintained under the guidelines by the court. The first ever PIL is Husainara Khatun versus State of Bihar in 1979. Now, why Husainara Khatun versus State of Bihar? What was the subject matter? The subject matter was that in Bihar jail, the prisoners who were there, thousands of prisoners who were there, were living in under inhuman conditions, and a lawyer saw it and thought that it is the duty of the Supreme Court to look into the functioning of the state jails. So Justice P.N. Bhagwati was the Supreme Court head of the bench, and he declared that the free legal aid and expeditious trial of these prisoners, which ultimately led to their release, right? So this is the progress of PIL. Because of these PIL, you can see freedom from bonded labor, right to food, right to work, right to clean air, right to water, right? Uh, the members of the governments have to disclose their assets before election. Natural resources of the government has to be dispersed equally without creating any sort of gap. This all thing is the part of PIL. Today, if Manrega payments are not being made, and because of the inclusion of mandatory addition of Aadhaar enabled payment systems under Manrega, there are a lot of people who are not able to secure right to work, or not able to secure or not able to receive their salary, can invoke a PIL. Can invoke a PIL. All right. So this is what is there. So PIL is basically what? Where the Supreme Court interferes to make sure that the directive principles are being observed and followed by the state machinery at optimal standards. It can also be related to fundamental rights, but if fundamental rights are violated, then you can say that you can invoke Article 32. But the cause of action has to be you. The violation aggrieved person should be you. राइट तुम्हारे प्लॉट पे कोई कचरा डाल रहा है, प्लॉट पे कोई कचरा डाल रहा है, तुम उस प्लॉट में रहते हो, तो और वो कचरा जा रहा है, प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल्स इसलिए डाल रहे हैं क्योंकि स्टेट मशीनरी कचरा नहीं उठा रही, तो ये PIL का मैटर है, ना कि रेट जुरिस्डिक्शन का. बट अगर कचड़े वाली गाड़ी ने तुम पे इलीगल तरीके से फ़ाइन लगा दिया है, ज़बरदस्ती फ़ाइन मार दिया है, तो स्टेट के एक्शन से तुम्हारा कुछ फंडामेंटल राइट इफेक्ट हो रहा है, तो तुम जाओगे सुप्रीम कोर्ट में रेट जुरिस्डिक्शन के अंदर. सो दिस वॉज द बेसिक एसेंस अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दीज 4 types of jurisdictions. Fifth, advisory jurisdiction is not a jurisdiction as such, and it is very less invoked. So you should keep these things in mind. This was the lecture 3 of your legal studies section. I'll be continuing with lecture 4 in my channel. I'm releasing CUET legal studies lectures chapter by chapter, topic by topic at a snail's pace because I want you to cover holistically. I'll be taking up 11th class 12th ka pura syllabus. So kindly subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. Please kindly help me in increasing the subscribers so that good quality content should reach to the masses. What I have largely seen is how YouTube is working. If I'm doing some sort of bakwas, People are watching it, people are liking it, but I don't want to be known, and my channel should not be the one jahan pe people like the bakwas. Whatever content is being delivered, education content is being delivered, I want students to consume that, because we need to get out of this mindset that quality education cannot be free of cost. Wherever possible, I am with the mission to democratize access to education. Good quality content and efficient teachers should be available to all. Why only to select few? Why only reserved in select pockets of metropolitan cities? With that thought, let me finish and wrap up this class today. I'll see you guys in the next. Thank you so much. All the very best.